Okay, good morning today.
Good morning.
Yes, today, just I'm a little waiting couple of persons. Takashi is still not coming yet, and Tochikura is on the way come here very soon. And today's session Vietnam. First of all, I briefly explain Vietnam in Japanese, summarize. Okay? ベトナムは、一党独裁社会主義国で、中国とは政治的には対立していますけれども、政府の政策とか対応の仕方には中国に似ています。で、ベトナムは輸出の最大国は中国なんですね。で、密接な関係があります。で、農業国でありますけど、農業とは言ってもですね、一般的な農業じゃなくて大規模な先端技術農業ですね。で、製造業に近い。で、中国と同様にこの国は選挙はなくて、メリトクラシーですね。
Unnoさん。
はい。
Vietnam's agriculture is like Dutch agriculture, big scale and high technology.
Yes, yes.
Oh.
Very advanced technology.
Different from Japanese agriculture.
No. They are more advanced than Japanese one.
Oh.
Yes, so Japanese people, I just recommended some the government-related organization last week, and they organized a high school, agriculture school, and they are looking for some place for visiting the country. I recommend them to go to Vietnam. And Vietnam is the technology, very large-scale agriculture system they have. For example, they are kind of,何
Wi-Fi の接続あるかな。
ある、その紙、その紙。そこ、紙、それ。あ、それ、違う、それ。Okay.
That means Vietnam's aim is a large scale?
Yeah, very large scale. And also they are breeding flowers in the tremendous large room or warehouse. And this actually they're making a lot of flowers exporting Japan.
Oh,
okay.
I don't know that.
Yeah. If you have a chance to be in Vietnam, then you can have a chance to have a look. It's huge, unbelievable. Japanese people cannot do that.
Japanese people cannot do that, yeah.
Yeah, huge. And don't misunderstand simple agriculture. They try to consider for the housing, breeding for vegetables. Mm-hmm. Housing, not outside.
Oh.
Okay, they are very, Vietnamese people, I don't know, they are very willing to develop new technology. And also, Vietnam is, they recently, very many people understand English rather than Japanese, so they try to import high technology software from the States.
In Malaysia, about vegetable, Malaysia couldn't supply vegetables ourselves.
What do you mean, couldn't supply?
About 70% Malaysia could supply to supply vegetables, and 30% should import from other countries.
Really? How come?
Yeah.
Why?
30% is not enough.
Why?
Malaysia main agriculture is palm oil.
Yes, right, palm oil.
For example, vegetable is not profitable.
Ah, I see. So from where?
Yeah, from here. For example, Australia.
Uh-huh.
Maybe Vietnam, or I don't know that.
Okay. Understandable.
How did they raise the capital to do the large scale?
Vietnam?
Yeah.
Oh, Japanese investment.
Okay.
Huge Japanese investment because majority exporting to Japan. Japanese heavy investment to Vietnam because their real estate is comfortable, fairly large scale, and not like limited like Japan for developing agriculture business. So they are easy to expand their agriculture business there. Okay? それで、賄賂はあんまりないのね、中国。あるんですけど、ベトナムは。 桁が少ないんですね。小さい。それから中国の人権問題とか裁判に対する政府の介入がないですね。人権問題ってのは、ベトナムは北と南の二人人種殺金属ともう一つ南の方の人種しか二つしかないので、中国みたいに新疆とか、チベットみたいな人権争いがない。それから、なんだっけ、フリーダムオブスピーチっていう、そういうふうなこだわりがこの国はない。もちろん、フリーダムオブスピーチはないんだけど、そういうことを言いたくなるような案件がない。要するに多民族国家じゃないんで、多民族国家じゃないんで、人種間の圧力とか、レリジョンの一種のレリジョン一種ね。で、ビジネスの世界では何ら民主主義国家と変わるところはない。全くない。で、ベトナム戦争はありましたけど、アメリカとの関係は友好的です。ただ中国と南シナ海の領有権で問題ありましたけど、今はですね、強調してます。あんまり、過激に、射撃っていうか、撃ち合いはやってないですね。で、先端技術の取り込み、身が抜けてる。ちょっと待ってください。先端技術の取り込みは中国、フィリピン同様に極めて熱心です。これはもう、ベトナム、チャイナ、フィリピン、インディア is very far ahead of Japan. Okay? 日本が非常に遅れてるビハインドですね。農業分野の革新を今言った通り、BPO とか ITBPO に対して、先端的な試みをしています。フランス企業の例は後で、ビジネスプロセスアウトソーシング、IT ビジネスプロセスアウトソーシング、これは、後で見せますけど、フランスの企業が、最先端をベトナムに導入してますね。民主主義国家ではないので、これは特色としてはですね、アジアの中でも特別ですけど、貧富の差がないんです、この国。
Oh, really?
だから、yes, Vietnam is just only the GDP per person about 2300? Philippines is 3200?
Oh.
But Vietnam is better than Philippines.
Yes.
Right? No jam in Vietnam.
So I missed the first part. What is the 50?
50?
35 or whatever. That's a monthly salary?
No, annual revenue. 20, Vietnam is 2300.
That's annual salary.
US dollars, annual
okay.
GDP per person.
Oh, annual GDP.
And the Philippines is 3200 per person, GDP, but Vietnam is ahead of Philippines. Japan is 36,000.
So
They are less than one-tenth. Those people less than one-tenth. But Vietnam is very ahead for developing infrastructure. You have no jam from airport to downtown, but Philippines it takes airport to downtown for 3 hours.
I went to Ho Chi Minh 3 times.
Yeah.
And everywhere there is a Shimizu Maeda joint venture for subway or the train. So
Yes, not Japan, but also they are involving Vietnam is France, Germany, and they have very European country and also Japanese company is very competitive each other.
Yes.
And Vietnam government try to import Japanese technology, not only Japanese technology but also Europe.
Yes.
So very fierce battle in Vietnam now.
The reason why those Japanese companies won, like a subway, was say JICA or the Japanese government is funding.
Okay, but Japanese JICA and Japanese funding is not stable. Vietnam government is eager to consider for the more lower technology rather than Japanese government, Japanese JICA offering.
I see.
And Japanese people, Vietnamese people, they don't want to implement more lower cost development. But Japanese try to sell most ahead technology to Vietnam, but they don't like it. But Australia and France and Germany, they are very flexible to sell their technology. It's very flexible, up to the Vietnam government budget. But Japanese, they never adjust their budget to sell Japanese technology. This is the current Japanese problem in Vietnam. Not only Vietnam, in Asia Pacific, all over Asia. Japanese JICA cause problem. Okay, and government never compromise. Okay, never compromise or never they change their policy, try to adjust global standard. Japanese try to sell Japanese standard. This is a problem in Vietnam. And currently, Vietnam is most concerned about those issues. And Vietnamese they study overseas, America. Recently, they are government officials. They do know the global technology trend and infrastructure, what the best way to develop. So this is most behind. Japanese people, they don't know. They just only get to know only domestic issues, and they don't know what revealing in Asia Pacific. So this is the current problem. And Japanese people, but also they can speak English. So this is more another issue to compete against European people or Chinese people. Recently, Korean and Chinese very powerful to sell their infrastructure technology into Vietnam. Okay?
But there are quite a few very rich people, maybe government related or some business, being corporation is very famous there. So I don't know. You said there's no rich and poor difference.
Oh no, poor and rich people. There are no differences among rich and poor. And Vietnam people is they do not have not kind of America, kind of Philippines, kind of India, kind of China, just two separated people, not exist in Vietnam.
But at least there are rich people.
Very few.
Okay.
I know my friend, very rich. He has a hospital, he has many restaurants, many hotels. I know that, but very few. Okay. Very few, because they brought money from states, and they bought real estate and some government asset, and government-owned asset company, and very few.
I see.
Not more than 100.
That's. I will show you the picture later, but those are the very rich people who bought the condominium or the individual
very few.
houses.
Very few.
And the development itself, the one project provides 10,000 units, which is almost as expensive as in Osaka.
Oh, maybe those condominium bought by not Vietnamese, by both surrounding country people, is it?
Yeah, foreigners can buy only 20% of the whole unit.
But Vietnamese not so many rich people, very few, and you can consider for like I show you the some here. This time I don't show you the per person. Okay, this is actually Vietnam. Only 23,000, 2300 US dollars. This is very poor. But Vietnamese people not poor. It's actually Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi, and the common people not poor, because usually America and any other country, the rich people occupy the GDP person per person, GDP money per person. So that's the reason the average figure is very high. Japanese is also average, not rich people, very few rich people. And China is different. China is a socialist country, but many rich people there. So that's the reason they are actually in China's the GDP per person is very high, but this is not showing average. Like China case is half of population is annual income, not more than 2,000 US dollars. Not more than 2,000 US dollars. And addition 30%, it means 80% is 2,000 to 5,000 US dollars per person. Only 20% of Chinese people more rich than more than 5,000 US dollars.
You said 20%?
Only 20%. Okay, so let's move on. So you can feel them. Huh? Say something?
No, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, maybe Takashi is what happened to Takashi. She doesn't. Oh, here. Okay, he's joined at 9:30. What time?
I am here.
Oh, yeah. When
Here.
oh, when did you join? Can you see the screen? Not yet, right?
I can.
You can, right? Okay, I show you. Okay. Takahashi, can you see the screen?
Yes, yes.
Oh, you can see the screen. Okay. When did you join us?
Maybe 1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay. So now today is Kimoto joined from Penang. Where you are now?
What do you mean?
Okay.
Okay.
So today Tochikura will come in soon in Tokyo. Okay. So let's try to explain the information about Vietnam in English. Today Vietnam is technically still a communist country, having one party rule, that is the Communist Party of Vietnam, and the Marxist-Leninist governance. In fact, Vietnam is among 5 remaining communist countries today, together with China, Laos, Cuba, and to a large extent North Korea. However, like other communist countries, Vietnam has to adopt some capitalist principles to survive. As a matter of fact, Vietnam, since implementing a series of free market reforms in mid-1980s, as you know, have now become one of the world's fastest growing economies and have set the sights on becoming a modern and industrialized nation by 2020. Okay? Thanks to Doi Moi, which started in 1986, I've been there at that time, Vietnam has been rapid economic growth in various fields, from agriculture, construction, it means infrastructure, okay, to export and investment, with the average annual GDP growth of roughly 7% up to the global financial crisis in 2008. Vietnam is one of the world's fastest growing economies. Many could now argue Vietnam is no longer a pure communist country. Freedom of speech are still limited, and all maybe freedom is different from China, but limited, and all news media and press are still under control of the government. In 2007 National Assembly election, 100% of the 49 available seats were won by Communist Party candidates. Okay, here is the president. President Tran Dai Quang was elected to the largely ceremonial post of president in January 2016. Secretary General of Communist Party Nguyen Phutrong. How this pronounce it, Takashi? Phutrong?
Nguyen
Phutrong?
Phutrong.
Okay. He took over. Vietnam faced mounting economic problems, including rising inflation, a growing trade deficit, and weakening currency. Oh, I didn't know that, weakening currency. He also previously served the Communist Party's chief political theorist. Okay, this he's Kwan. Okay, he's the Kwan president.
Do you know the background of
Kwan?
this gentleman? Yes.
Kwan? He's a general.
General from Army.
Army general.
Army general.
でしょ高橋。
いやー、まあ、政治局員ですね。
He is not general? He is not came from army?
No.
Oh, Politburo. Okay, member Politburo.
Yes.
The same as China. Going up to the political ladder.
Local to the central.
Okay, one more comment in Japanese. ベトナム戦争で勝ったんで今のベトナムがある。ベトナムが勝ったね。もし負けたらどうなっていたのだろうか。アメリカの輸入信号になっていたら今とんでもないことになっただろうと。今みんなベトナム政府を愛していたし、コミュニケーションもなかった。今のアメリカのコードのような国会ができたしたら問題だろうって。 だから今、アメリカに勝ったから今のベトナムは、健全なベトナムがあるんでね、分かっていたらとんでもないことになっていただろうっていうのは僕の予想です。I think this is Vietnam is, I think, their character is like very, how can I say, very kind, but very tough. Also, they have very strong confidence against American, including military, against China, against military, and politically. They are very strong mind, right? They won against China, they won against America, so they have very strong, not navy, army power, right? So let's have a look. This is a little bit interesting first video. I show you that the President Obama visited Ho Chi Minh, and he made a presentation for them. This is 2006, early 16th or late 15th, or he made a speech for them. And just try to give you the summary in Japanese. で、オバマのスピーチをベトナム説明、面白いって言ったんです。これ、オバマが司会してるんですよね。珍しいですよね。大統領が司会してる。それからアマゾンとマイクロソフトとシットコムっていうなんかわかんない会社の、企業家が出てきて、で、オバマが司会して彼らから意見を聞いてるビデオですね。で、彼らの課題とか希望。まあ、アメリカ政府のやらせビデオですけど、大統領は最後の方で彼が人生の目標をどのように持ったかを説明してます。TPP の話を。これ、この当時は、トランプがトランプが勝った後かな。だから、トランプの TPP に対する考え方を批判してます。
So it's more than 1 year ago.
Yeah, 2016, maybe March or February or 2015, the late 2015, the late of this year. Okay, let me try to explain some word. Plex, okay. Complex, plex. Fossil. Okay, take over. This is different meaning, take over. Misfit. Wearable. Fitness tracker. Okay. Pathé. Untapped. Cherish. Unimpressive. Roadblock. Ingredient. Conducive. Pitch. Ingrain. Very few difficult words. And Obama speak. Yes. You say something? No. Okay. Let's going to start his. Okay, echoing. Sorry. I'm going to. If you have any voice problem, let me know. I'm going to adjust it. Okay. This is 50 minutes, and just try to, in the middle of his presentation, I'm going to give you some comment, but let's go.
Thank you. Xin chào. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, it's wonderful to be here in Ho Chi Minh City. Please have a seat. I just had the opportunity to visit the Jade Emperor Pagoda. And I think going from a 100-year-old sacred temple to this 21st century greenplex is, I think, a wonderful expression of the evolution that's taken place here in Vietnam. A country that honors its history, but is also boldly racing towards the future. And that's also the story of this city. This is a city on the move, and we could see as we were traveling in from the airport all the activity that's currently taking place. And I'm not just talking about the traffic, although I do think it might be easier to be on a motorbike than a motorcade. But this city, like this country, is full of energy. You can see it in the skyscrapers shooting above the horizon and the shops that are springing up in every corner. You can see it online, where tens of millions of Vietnamese are connecting with each other and with the world. And you can feel it here at Dreamplex, where ideas are becoming a reality. I just had a chance to see some of these ideas in action. Young people who are making things happen. I saw a virtual game that can help people recover from nerve injuries, to a machine that lets you smartphone control a laser cutter, although you have to be careful with the laser cutter where you point it. But some of this energy may be due to your famous Café Trump. That stuff is strong, I understand. But the real
Vietnam coffee is very strong.
driver of Viet.
Well, what is a coffee strong?
Coffee itself is very strong, very dense. Vietnam coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah, this is he's talking about.
Vietnam's growth and the engine of Ho Chi Minh City.
So even if you go into the Starbucks,
Yes.
taste is different. Very strong.
Because of the French culture?
Vietnam culture. Vietnam is very famous for
Coffee.
coffee bean,
Yes.
and the drinking style is different. They have put on some different stuff in front of the cup, and they just coffee powder in there, and they are making a very strong coffee, very strong. The first time maybe difficult to drink, too strong.
Is the spirit of
Too sweet.
Yeah, if you go, yeah, but this is different from like the other surrounding countries' tea, too sweet, right? But Vietnam coffee is if you drink in Japan, they put in sugar in there, but Kimoto, you don't you don't touch keyboard, or you just erase voice. Otherwise,
Okay, thank you.
cause noise
Sorry.
for us. Okay.
entrepreneurship, the spirit that brings us here today. And I see it everywhere I travel all around the world. I meet people, and especially young people, like the three that we're about to meet, who are eager to strike out on their own, start something new, and shape their own destinies. Many want to do more than just create a great new app for a phone. They want to contribute to their communities and help people live better lives. And that's what entrepreneurship is all about. It's building businesses, making a profit, hopefully, but it's also about creating good jobs and developing new products and devising ways to serve others. Entrepreneurship is also the fuel for prosperity that puts rising economies on the path to success. It's what gives young people, like so many of you, the chance to channel your energy and your passion into something that is bigger than yourselves. And it allows us to come across countries and cultures to solve some of the world's greatest challenges. Of course, being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's not easy in the United States. It's not easy here in Vietnam. It's not easy any place in the world. It can be tough to get started. It's hard to access capital. It's hard to get the skills that you need to run a business. You might not always have the mentors and the networks that can help guide you along the way. And it can be especially difficult for women.
Maybe you recognize his speech. Always his speech is never using difficult words. Try to everybody to understand what he said. That's the reason he's very good speaker. Like compared with Trump, the another president, they're using sophisticated, complex words. Not easy to understand. But he's different. Okay? Just listen.
Mr. Bush was also the case.
Huh?
He didn't know the difficult vocabularies.
No, he knows, but he just select the word.
No, but President Bush.
A Bush?
Yeah. He doesn't know the complicated words anyway.
A Bush, oh, you're talking. Okay.
For others who traditionally are not viewed as being at the center of business life in a country, haven't had all the access to the same opportunities. So we've got to tap all the talent that's out there. Just because you were born poor does not mean you should not.
Kimoto, you erase voice. You touching keyboard is too noisy. You don't do
I
that?
don't know. I don't touch my keyboard.
Okay. Who's doing? Takashi, you don't do that, right?
I turn off my mic.
Okay.
Not be able to start a business. Just because you don't look like the traditional businessman doesn't mean you can't make a great product or deliver a great service. And that's why Dreamplex is so important. It's not only a home for digital entrepreneurs like you, it's also a place where you can share ideas and work together and build a community that supports each other. And incubators like this allow Vietnam, alongside its emphasis on entrepreneurship, to see more startups happening in this country than ever before. Recently, in 1 year alone, the funding for startups doubled in this country. And we're seeing major acquisitions, like Fossil Group's takeover of Misfit Wearables, a Vietnamese company that makes devices like fitness trackers. We're seeing Vietnamese Americans who are coming here to start new ventures. And that shows the strong bond between the United States and Vietnam. And the world is taking notice. A leading global venture capital firm called 500 Startups just launched a $10 million fund here in Ho Chi Minh City. Next month at our Global Entrepreneurship Summit, something that I've been hosting now for several years.
This sort of thing never happened in Japan, right? Fundraising. Japan is very difficult. And fundraising for starting up company, right?
Except SoftBank.
They are doing that?
Yeah, they are providing. Yeah, the later stage of the funding, they put a lot of money into the small company.
Really?
Startup companies.
They are doing that?
Like Uber, the last series of the fundraising, SoftBank put the money there.
No, I'm talking about in Japan.
Yeah, okay. They bought a few companies coming from Tokyo University, robotics company.
Yeah, but this fundraising is they give me the 10,000, 20,000 for invest for the small company. This one.
10,000 US dollar.
Yeah, small company for investing company like this. Not we don't 500 startup
$10 million fund.
$10 million fund.
Well, what is the fund name?
I don't know, but he said $10 million fund in Vietnam. So they just
that's a very small 10 million.
Yeah, they because they're giving $10,000 and $20,000 for the giving investing for small company. So startup small company, okay, they will go. Japanese government they are doing actually investing 10 million or 20 million funding by government, but kind of private fund is in Japan.
Are you talking about 각신기고?
Many in Japan, many.
You said government.
Government many, but not private fund.
Here in Ho Chi Minh City. Next month at our Global Entrepreneurship Summit, something that I've been hosting now for several years, I'll welcome 8 Vietnamese entrepreneurs to Silicon Valley so that they can learn from some of the best entrepreneurs and startups and venture capitalists in the world. And your success sends a message.
He said 8 Vietnamese in Silicon Valley. In Chinese, 8,000 people, companies in Silicon Valley. Okay.
To global investors about this country's incredible potential for innovation. Hopefully it also encourages other Vietnamese entrepreneurs to chase that new great idea and start that new company, which will continue to fuel an ever-expanding Vietnamese economy. I'm here today because the United States is committed to being a partner as you grow. With the Peace Corps coming to Vietnam for the first time, our volunteers are going to help more Vietnamese learn English, the language that so often is used in the global economy. With programs like our Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, we're helping give thousands of young people across Vietnam the skills and networks they need to turn their ideas into action. With our U.S. ASEAN Connect initiative, we're matching American investors with Vietnamese entrepreneurs in areas like clean energy. With the Women's Entrepreneurship Center we're going to open here in Vietnam, we create is what we're going to call it. Will help empower the next generation of.
He said women something enhancement, some power up program. He said, right? And yesterday I joined some morning session. She came from United States, and America. They have lots of sort of investment organization. They have. Okay, sorry. Okay, woman incentive training program in the States. They have very popular, much popular. Many organizations make investment for them. She said this is one of them. And yesterday morning I just attended some morning session seminar. She came from United States and she explained the kind of fund, what they're doing. In the States, they have lots of private fund doing kind of women and many kind of activity. So those organizations come into Vietnam to have activity for Vietnamese to encourage doing kind of activity. Right? So she's
private equity.
Private
equity.
Yeah, private equity. I can forget the name of private partner. In America is many partner private fund they have, or foundation, right?
Non-profit organization.
Yeah. They raise the private money, make a foundation, kicking foundation.
Like Bill Gates.
Yes, many. So those private got money. Those people make a foundation and creating fund for invest all over the world. Right?
Are they looking for return or just?
No return. They just give them training for those fund coming to Japan. They ask for some Japanese people who speak English. They try to contribute to the human power, and they try to make investment for them to invite to the States for a couple months and free training. And that's all. And this is sort of thing. I don't know so much, but they have a lot. Many Japanese people they don't know, but actually they have a lot. Foundation exists in the States. Like in Vietnam, also many foundation came to Vietnam, looking for some not only overseas education, but also those kind of activities they're going to support for them. Not only business, but also activity, like a woman, some empower program.
Well, what is the requirement to be funded?
Entry.
How many women out of the how many people?
Entry
requirements.
I don't know how many people, but many people they don't know the program exists.
As long as CEO is a woman, that's okay, or the entire employee constitute, I don't know, 60% or 70%.
No. The foundation is they're going to delegate responsibility to the responsible person. For example, Asia Pacific, and they appoint some person. She will going to advertisement and select people, and the headquarter board members accept those people to invite them to the stage. Okay. They have many, but the Japanese people or Asian people they don't know. Even I didn't know that. And I don't know how to get the kind of information. This is very convenient for the younger people to have opportunity doing something, right? But almost all people, they don't know. Usually everybody knows that the foundation supporting for the overseas education, but they have a lot, any other program they have. Okay. Let me try going to start.
Women business owners. And if we really want to encourage entrepreneurship and innovation, I should mention that we need to move ahead with the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Because TPP...
Okay, he said TPP, okay.
will not only let us sell more of our goods to each other and bring our economies closer together, it will accelerate economic reforms here in Vietnam, boost your economic competitiveness.
This is his presentation after election of Trump. He recognized that.
Up new markets, not only for large companies, but also for small and medium-sized businesses. It'll raise labor and environmental standards, and it will improve business conditions so that entrepreneurs like you can thrive. So my message to all the entrepreneurs here today is that I believe in you, America believes in you, and we're going to keep investing in your success. Ultimately, it's the inventors and dreamers, people like those that I just met, those that we'll hear from soon, and all of you in the audience who are going to shape Vietnam's future for decades to come. So I'm looking forward to hearing from these outstanding young leaders. Thank you very much. Come on.
By the way, can you imagine Mr. Abe can do this? This is an American president. He is a commentator for this program, and he explained the relationship with Vietnam, not only simply talking, but also fairly many kind of programs, and fairly deep give them the depth of detail, but he's thinking about from United States of America, sort of thing. He just make a speech. Japanese Prime Minister should do this.
So I'm just going to introduce very quickly these outstanding young business people who are leading the way here in Vietnam. We invited them here to give us some of their thoughts about what would make it easier for them to start their businesses and to continue to nurture the startups that they're involved with. The first is Qua Pham, who's the Director of Legal and Corporate at Microsoft Vietnam. We have Lê Hoang Oyen Vi, who's the founder of Aderoy, which is aiming to become the Amazon of Vietnam. And we have Duty Thuy Hang, who's the Vice President of Seedcom, which invests in Vietnamese companies. So please give them a big round of applause, and we'll start our conversation. So, Vita, let's start with you and tell us, it sounds like you started being interested in business at a very young age.
Good evening, Mr. President, and good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the Vietnamese and the U.S. government for organizing such a wonderful event. My name is V, and I graduated from Georgetown University in 2009, majoring in finance. Actually, I have had a passion for technology since I was in school. When I was 13, I decided to start my own web design company, and I loved the idea of connecting buyers and sellers through an online platform just like eBay or Amazon. But at the moment, I was so young and I couldn't start a formal business. So therefore, after my college graduation, I decided to come back to Vietnam and started Chon.vn. It's an e-marketplace selling fashion items. And luckily, after 5 years, we became one of the top destinations for fashion lovers in Vietnam. And we got acquired by the biggest conglomerate in Vietnam called Vingroup. And right now I'm running Adero.com. Basically, we are the Amazon of Vietnam. We sell everything from electronics to even grocery online. And our goal is to bring...
Actually, she is Vietnam. And Vietnamese. And she graduated American University. And she coming back to Vietnam. And the American government asked her to join this session, and Obama called me. This kind of program is why I show you this video. Is the Japanese government need to do this, and actually Japanese government or Japanese we don't have any kind of material introduced overseas. Okay, none of those since Nitobe Inazo. Nitobe Inazo advertised Japanese culture 100 years ago. Since then, nothing. So if you're going to Vietnam, if you're going to Singapore, those people, they don't know who Japanese are. This is the major concern I have. So I'm going to write a book anyway, but this kind of sort of things is, American people is very clever to introduce what is the United States, what is America. Just she going to introduce Amazon and Microsoft, and sort of things is through president. This is very important. And why he's come to Vietnam? Okay. For example, Japanese defense minister went to Africa, South Sudan. She went there. Inada. And before self-defense people is going back to Japan. She went there to make a speech. Only stayed 7 hours. They didn't touch anybody, anything else but the government of South Sudan people or their people. So they never appreciate Japanese effort for past 5 years. Or San Beach, So this is sort of things Japanese people doing the same way.
Yeah.
And this is, even if Abe going to Vietnam, going to Singapore, Philippines, wherever, never do that.
He gave out lots of money. Just
Exactly.
give away.
Exactly. So he need to make a communicate with those people, not only communicate, but he need to introduce what is Japanese, or Japanese culture, Japanese economy, politics, so forth, and give them understanding with their interesting items. Okay, they are not interested, they never listen. But that this kind of cases, Vietnamese, everybody want to eager to listen, because maybe they can get money from U.S. government or U.S. private fund somewhere else. So they're expecting something. So that many people join this meeting. Okay?
The safe and high quality products at affordable price to every family in Vietnam.
That's great. Now, you look very good. Is this some of your fashion that you can sell on online? Is that like you can buy the necklace and the earrings? And
They're available on adiro.com.
I just wanted to, so if you're looking for, a good deal, excellent. And Hang, you started out as an investor or as an entrepreneur. Now you're an investor as well. Tell us what have been the challenges that you've met, and have there been some special challenges about being a woman entrepreneur and investor here in Vietnam?
Mr. President, it's my honor to be here as well. And I guess let's take it back a little bit. I came back to Vietnam 5 years ago after 9 years in the States. So America is truly my second home. And when I came back, it was basically because of my very close tie to Vietnam. My family is in here, my hometown is here, I love the people here. Because the environment has been very supporting, I learned a lot from previous generations. And thirdly, because I have seen successful role models here, and that's why I came back. I never thought that being a female entrepreneur would be a disadvantage here in the local market. Because from my experience and observations around the area, I'm very proud to say that in Vietnam, women are treated equally and given a lot of opportunities. So whether we thrive or not, it all starts within ourselves. And we see a lot of women entrepreneurs in the room as well. Chang from Misfit that you just mentioned, she's incredible. Rena, she's not an entrepreneur per se, but she has done a terrific job here in Ho Chi Minh City. We all love her. So if the world is run by women, and I'm hinting the US election this year, it will be a better place. Like you always say that.
So what kind of businesses are you looking to invest in at this point?
So Vietnam is among the top exporters of agricultural products in the world. Yet there are a lot of untapped opportunities in agriculture, and it is still a very low-tech, low-productivity sector. And at Seedcom, we worked with a lot of companies across retail, technology, and logistics. But the project that we are most excited about at the moment is in agriculture, Golden Farm. We apply technology to traditional farming. Very simple stuff like from tracking to automation. And basically we bring the products all the way to end users at a higher value. So that signals, I guess, the next wave of innovation in Vietnam, where entrepreneurs and investors come together and using technology to tackle very traditional problems in traditional industry.
Oh, in the world, most advanced technology, like what she said, handling vegetables and agriculture product is Holland.
Yes.
Very heavy advanced technology there.
And we're super excited about it.
So, you were born here, moved to the States when you were 11, is that right? And got your education there, worked in Washington, ended up at a very an impressive startup called Microsoft, and so now are here representing Microsoft in Ho Chi Minh City. Tell us about what are the opportunities that Microsoft is seeing, and how you think U.S. companies can most effectively interact with Vietnamese business people and startups and entrepreneurs.
Right. Well, welcome to Vietnam, Mr. President. I know it's early morning in Washington, D.C., so I'm glad you're awake. So I returned to Vietnam for the same reason that my parents had when they took me out of Vietnam as a young boy. And that is that they wanted me to have an opportunity for a better life. And we found that in the U.S. And after 35 years living in the U.S., I decided to return to Vietnam to give the same opportunity and to make a difference to the young people of Vietnam. Many of them are sitting here today. And so the way I look at my return is that Microsoft gives me the opportunity to make a difference, to improve lives for people through the use of technology, as well as to accelerate the development of the country through technology by the improvement of the ICT infrastructure.
Oh, this guy's obviously just transferred from state. Microsoft's company transferred him to the Vietnam, right? Yeah, obviously. Maybe he's going to stay 5 years and they're moving another country. Anyway, this person is exactly.
So I see a lot of impressive young entrepreneurs and the spirits of entrepreneurship here in Vietnam. And that's the reason I returned to Vietnam.
So, V, you were mentioning how you want to be the Amazon of Vietnam. Tell me about the challenges you have in trying to build a digital platform for commerce here in Vietnam, and what makes it different trying to develop that here than it might be in the United States, where obviously there's more digital platforms and penetration. I'm assuming that particularly if you want to reach rural areas, that some of the logistical challenges are different. So tell us what has been some of the hardest aspects of building on your vision, and how do you think both the Vietnamese government or the U.S. government or companies that are interested in working with you or other entrepreneurs, how they can be most helpful? Where do you see the biggest roadblocks?
About bringing convenient and modern lifestyle to Vietnamese people. So imagine that a working mom has a job from 6 to 9, from 9 to 6, and then after 6 p.m. she has to rush to the supermarket to shop for her home dinner. It probably takes her an hour to get home and then ready to cook for the family.
Because the traffic is...
Right, traffic jam. So basically imagine that one day she can sit in her office and order all the ingredients, and when she gets home, the ingredients will be ready for her to cook dinner for her family. So every day we can save her an hour to spend more time with her family. Imagine that we can save her 360 hours per year, which translates to 7,300 hours.
She's talking about delivery. Okay, delivery. China is many people using that. Japan is just started, right?
Why does she mention the Korean?
Not Korean. This is translation is something wrong. I don't know what the truth she's talking. This in many cases translation is ridiculous.
Maybe automatic.
Not Korean. Just listen.
When she gets home, the ingredients will be ready for her to cook dinner.
Korean.
Something will be ready for her to cook. Courier? Courier?
Courier, yeah.
Courier, maybe courier.
And when she gets home, the Korean will be ready for her to cook dinner for her family.
Very difficult. This maybe courier will be ready.
So every
Delivery.
day we can save her an hour to spend more time with her family. Imagine that we can save her 360 hours per year, which translates to 7,300 hours over 20 years, which is equivalent to almost a year. So we can save a woman a year over 20 years. So that's our dream. But basically it's very challenging because even online grocery in America is difficult because of the infrastructure. It's very, very difficult for us to get the items to the customer on time. And especially we have a commitment to deliver it within 2 hours, which is quite impossible when we first started. But then we are very committed. So we build our own delivery infrastructure. We build our own delivery man.
What he's talking about is actually in China, delivery kind of sort of thing, very cheap. Okay, if you go into this supermarket, or if you go into somewhere department store, the same price. Almost none of delivery cost. But Japan is still we have delivery system, but very expensive, right?
As long as you become the Amazon Prime, that's delivery cost is free.
Not vegetable.
I haven't tried the vegetable.
No, this is vegetable. And she's okay. China is vegetable. Okay, dinner. Okay, this delivery going to be delivered to their home before 1 hour, a couple of hours. Every kind of small lot of vegetable and egg and everything, and packed to deliver to them. This is a system.
Yeah, many supermarkets my condominium to provide free delivery as long as you buy more than 5,000 yen.
Right. This case is no. It's about 200 yen or some very small amount of money that they I don't know why they can deliver so cheap cost because of that. Maybe I don't know why so they can deliver so cheap.
Maybe up there the delivery cost is very low.
Yeah,
but
very
considering the traffic there, that's almost impossible to deliver in 2 hours.
Yeah, but they try to do that.
So who is the person who tried to develop the Amazon in Vietnam?
Oh no, she has Amazon. She tried to doing. Oh, okay. She tried to sell vegetable by Amazon in Vietnam.
So she's a part of Amazon person.
Yeah, she's working for Amazon.
Oh,
she is representative of Amazon in Vietnam.
And up to now, I think we had the feeling of it, so we are able to deliver our product as fast as we can to satisfy the customers. So a couple of challenges that I think either the government in Vietnam or the U.S. government can help us is first is to help us to build up our infrastructure, the logistics, the payments, etc., and bring new technology to Vietnam. So that's always been my dream.
Right. So so one of the challenges is just making sure that you have the physical infrastructure so that you can deliver fast enough. But in terms of the digital infrastructure, is that well developed because everybody has a smartphone now?
It's much better now because people are getting used to using their smartphone to order things online. 3 years ago when I first started, it was so difficult to get people online, but now it's very easy. But still, so the operation infrastructure.
By the way, Takahashi is in Vietnam. Is currently are using payment by smartphone. Like China.
The cashless payments is not familiar here in Vietnam.
Oh, okay. But still not yet. So digitally.
Online. Some kind of e-commerce is somewhere available, but the problem is people doesn't believe in the goods.
I heard already Alipay currently in Vietnam, right?
Just started first for Chinese travelers.
Their intention is digital infrastructure creation in Vietnam, is it?
Yeah, eventually they will.
Okay. Not yet, right? Maybe next year.
Structure is not there yet. So we need to learn it from successful companies like Amazon, or we need to
she's not working for
come
Amazon.
up
She's
with our own.
creating the similar company like Amazon.
No, she's working for Amazon.
Just a previous line.
No, she's working Amazon. And she came back to Vietnam, and Amazon asked her to represent in Vietnam.
They are supposed to be entrepreneur, not the expert.
Oh, they're talking entrepreneur, but actually he's representative of Microsoft, and she's working on Amazon. And this middle lady is Sitcom. I don't know what company she's working for, but this is a private company. But she is representative for Amazon.
100% sure.
So the operation infrastructure is not there yet. So we need to learn it from successful companies like Amazon, or we need to come up with our own solution in Vietnam, because the street in Vietnam is not the same in the US. You understand, right? So we have all the delivery men in motorbike, and they have to know their way around. Yeah, it's very difficult to install GPS for the delivery man.
And just one last question, in terms of access to capital, typically are startups here self-financed, or are they financed through the banks? Is there enough of a sort of a bank infrastructure for small businesses and medium-sized businesses, or are most entrepreneurs using family savings as a venture capital? How are people getting started?
Well, that's a very good question. To be honest, I think in Vietnam, it's very difficult to get.
Okay, this is actually the American government intention to ask audience. Okay, and she is going to speak out how difficult to get money in Vietnam so far. And now it's American government who is going to help you. So the message she tried to speak out from her.
If she is working for Amazon, the money is coming from Amazon US. So she doesn't need to raise the money.
No. She's just talking about usually what's currently happening in Vietnam. It's very difficult to raise money by themselves.
She doesn't know. She is not the person who tried to develop a startup company.
No, she's an Amazon person, but she's talking about common people to going to start company is not easy by their own money, and nobody lend money for them.
So general comment, not from personal experience.
No.
Early funding, especially there's not that many venture capital funding in Vietnam. For seed funding and angel investors, very limited. I think most of the investors in Vietnam, they want to invest in companies that have track records, which is quite a challenge for startup in Vietnam. So we have 5 startup here. It's a good news for us, and we hope that in the near future, more venture funds can come to Vietnam, especially from America, to help us grow all the new businesses.
Well, I'm trying to do some advertising for you here. Hopefully somebody's paying attention back in the United States.
Thank you very much.
Hang, you were talking about agriculture. Obviously, a large portion of Vietnam is still dependent on basic agricultural and small farmers. Is the goal here for them to be able to move their products to market at a better price and more quickly, or is it that you want to move up the value chain so that there's more processing that's taking place? So it's not just rice or other crops, but it's also the products that are derived from the foodstuffs that are being grown, or is it all of the above? Tell me a little bit more about how you see the opportunity for agriculture to accelerate here in Vietnam.
I guess all of the above. Of course, by ourselves, we cannot change the whole industries, but with many investors and entrepreneurs working together, we believe that we can make a positive impact. So as I mentioned, there are 2 parts in our business. One is to apply more technology in agriculture. Some technology is very, very simple, using text message, using simple tracking tools, simple automation on the farm, greenhouse, etc. that improves the productivity massively, and that helps directly the farmers to increase their output and as a result their income. And secondly, basically have a trusted brand and add more value and bring the products to the end users at a higher price. And obviously the result of that is also higher income. And we understand that there are a lot of challenges, like Bea mentioned. The logistics is not there yet, quite yet. Infrastructure, there's still a lot to do. But we have a very young team in Dalat, where our farm is, and we have a lot.
We have very young team in Dalat, farmer. In Dalat is in the middle of Vietnam, very famous for agriculture area, but it's not well translated.
I know.
Perception is not the agriculture in Vietnam is not as advanced as US. Still, like the primitive. She said she can bring many technologies to.
Yeah, but she came from United States, okay?
Yeah.
So she tried to implement agricultural technology into Vietnam. But some technology already stable in Vietnam. And if you can go some places, very advanced technology already implemented. But still, this country, rice cropping, still is as usual before. So they have a lot of opportunity to implement the kind of advanced technology in Vietnam. Still a lot of opportunity. But some places very high advanced technology already implemented. But she tried to do the majority of agriculture business still not ahead of the other advanced country. So he tried to do it. And second is what he said is how to put value added for the product. This is another issue. This is a very heavy, difficult issue because like every kind of vegetables very cheap in Vietnam, but she wanted to sell those vegetables more higher price, like 3 times, 5 times, even though compared with the local market price. So a friend of mine is actually they are doing business in India, Delhi, and she is started to develop agricultural business. Not they just get buy from farmer from product, so selling to the European people or Japanese people with value added product. This is not easy because she's going to check in the quality of product. And instead of just only simply buying market just straight buying market is a little bit risky for fertilized product or some damage or some insect or sort of things is but through her is all products are very safe and non-fertilized, so this is very safe. Sort of product she is doing in Delhi. That's what she's actually trying to do that. But this is not easy because persuade local people to buy kind of value-added product is they're not willing to pay 5 times expensive rather than cheaper in the market. So second such issue is not easy. Okay?
But at least she's trying to build a brand to make it up.
Build what?
Brand. B-R-A-N-D. Like
oh yeah. Brand.
Yeah.
Of course, yes. Brand.
Yeah.
So and she's going to make a brand. Then, okay, my price is 5 times higher than market price, but she can sell safe. Okay, the brand safe brand. The same as in Vietnam. But I think Takashi he lives in Vietnam, but he knows that market vegetables are safe.
The definition of safe. Only the organic, the vegetable are safe, or the what is a safe?
Yeah, safe is right, Takashi. How do you think?
You mean contamination? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically okay. Then we have to be careful with some import goods from those countries.
Okay.
Perception of the Chinese vegetables are not safe because of the
Oh, okay.
Chemical.
No, depend on which importer.
Which one?
Which importer?
Imported.
Importing product from China. Depending on importer.
My wife has never bought the vegetable from China.
Like for example, importer is Mitsui Trading, no problem. Because they have
pesticide, no chemical.
No, they have own farm.
Oh,
So depending on how they're going to import from China. In some cases, okay. My former Chinese never eat Chinese vegetable in China. Okay, very much polluted, right? Okay, go ahead.
Unfortunately, a lot of people, young people, who start their work in agriculture, and we have so much passion and energy and drive, and beyond that, we even have a strategy and action plan to make this happen. So hopefully, in the next few years, you see some very positive change in agriculture in Vietnam.
When you think about business here versus business as you're accustomed to seeing it in the United States, what are some of the big differences, and are there particular areas where you think strategic investment would make a big difference in helping all these startups take off? And in terms of Microsoft's strategy, are your main clients large businesses and just helping them with respect to IT, or are you also working with some of these smaller startups to see how you can grow their businesses and hopefully help them really take off?
I'm sure you have heard from Satya Nadella, our CEO. Our company mission is to empower every person, every organization on the planet to achieve more. And I think there's no better market to do that than in Vietnam because of the young entrepreneurs that we have here and the internet penetration, the mobile base that we have here with young people. And I think that in terms of capturing the opportunity, I think that's important for us to look at for our government and businesses and entrepreneurs to really balance the opportunity and the responsibility in this new world that we live in, which is the mobile first, cloud first world. And so if you look at the challenges in that respect, I think public policy, regulatory environment, it needs to be more conducive, right? Need to be modernized to address the digital economy. And I think that Vietnam is not unique in that space as a developing market. I think in the U.S., the same is being faced with, how do we deal with e-commerce, cross-border taxation issues, and things of that nature. But I think...
Okay, cross-border taxation issues, that Takashi is always talking about that, right? Right, Takashi?
Mm-hmm.
That Vietnam can leapfrog other markets and seeing and capturing that opportunity. And for Microsoft Vietnam in particular, we have a national empowerment plan that basically mirrors the government ICT master plan by 2020 to really develop Vietnam's ICT advanced nation.
I think this is very important. Microsoft is thinking about cooperating with Vietnam government, and Japanese company never do that, right?
Yes.
So this is a big issue, and American company somewhat they have program to try to cooperate with local government to develop something like advanced technology or something like that, and supporting for capability to implement their government program or next 10 years program, something like that. So Japanese government, Japanese company never do that. JICA or JETRO or some other organization need to support kind of issues, but never do that.
And so in that regard, we look at the three key pillars, which is the ICT infrastructure of the country, helping really secure the cyber security apparatus of the country, really looking at the issue of privacy, data protection, the ICT infrastructure for a national cloud, to really take advantage of that. And also our investment in the second pillar, which is about small and medium-sized enterprises. I think that is going to be the driving factor for the economic growth of this country. We have, about 500,000 SMBs and businesses here in that size, and so I would say that the startup community is also the micro businesses that are starting out, and we have programs that provide free software, free cloud services to these startups, so this way they can really focus on developing the best products. And then obviously the education side, we really have to look at capacity building, and that is to really help the Vietnamese move from a labor-intensive economy into more of a knowledge economy, knowledge-based economy, and that is really getting them with the right skill set for ICT skill set, and also, we need to really invest, a bit more on STEM education, and we're doing that, and teaching with technology in the classrooms, and really doing a lot of these startup community, co-working space, community events to really.
Are you sure? I'm not well understand kind of Microsoft message. Is usually American company. They're only they can create profit. Without creating profit, they never make investment money for any kind, right? But he's talking about he tried to prepare creative market, and he's going to provide training and education for medium, small size company people, and he tried to make an ICT market itself, investing money in Vietnam, right?
Like Google, I know Google Japan is
Doing
donating the significant money for. They are not expecting any return, but just providing the money.
Yeah, I didn't think that before, but now he tried to do micro. But I was grown up in Accenture, they never do that, right? But Google or Microsoft or some Japanese company, American company do that.
Do you understand what STEM stands for? STEM. He said something STEM.
What?
STEM. There are maybe 2 lines or 3 lines before.
I don't know what it means.
ICT skill set, and also, we need to really invest, a bit more on STEM education.
STEM?
Yeah.
STEM education may be something system of educational system, right? But I don't know. Some system, American system, STEM system, and maybe some advanced technology education kind of type of special training system. Maybe some abbreviation, I don't know.
And we're doing that and teaching with technology in the classrooms, and really doing a lot of these startup community, co-working space, community events to really promote coding, because I think that's very important. And I think you were in KL when we did the hour of code, and where you worked with the Prime Minister and coding with the children. I think that's something that we do here annually as well. Yeah.
I think that's a great point, and Viv and Hung, maybe you want to talk about this a little bit. Ultimately, what makes startups and entrepreneurs successful is good ideas and the human capital. Obviously, investors are important, infrastructure is important, but the most important thing is people. And when you look at Vietnam right now, it seems as if a culture of entrepreneurship is really beginning to grow. But one of the questions that I always have to ask myself in the United States is whether our education system is equipping our children effectively enough to be able to move forward on their ideas. You're both very young, so you can still remember what it's like to go to school. For me, I've forgotten, but I will say that when I was going to school, we didn't have computers. well, you had these big mainframe computers, but you didn't have personal computers. So how do you see the education system here adapting to the needs of this new 21st century economy?
I still remember taking entrepreneurship classes in the U.S. and I found it so helpful for me to learn about how to write a business plan, how to pitch to investor, how to develop a financial model. And I think when I got back here, I don't find that many entrepreneurship classes in Vietnam. So I think that there's an empty area that we can tap on. And secondly, I think after the startup get funding, I think they also need mentorship programs. Those are the things that really helps the startup community in Vietnam. And I also think that I used to be an exchange student. I came to the US when I was 17. I'm very thankful for that because I learned so much about innovations, and I learned how to dream big and always hope for a brighter future. So I think there's a chance for us to also create exchange programs, not just for students but for working adults. Especially we can send young startups to do on-the-job training or internship program at some U.S. company. So those are the things that I really want to to get to the audience.
I would like to add to what we just said is the power of technology. Again and again, I go back to this point. With technology, really, students nowadays have access to a lot more information, a lot more well-informed, and education opens a new sector for startups to come and basically kind of disrupt the sector. So our friend Hill at Global Shapers, he has his own education startup. Another friend we know very well, Sue, she launched Elsa, that helps students to learn English through an app. So all of those examples, you can see that technology basically just opens the doors and opens opportunities for Vietnamese students to access to global knowledge. And the evidence of that is most of the team that I work with in Vietnam from my previous startup and even at many companies at Sitcom right now, they're all educated in Vietnam. I'm one of the very lucky few that got years of education in the States. But I respect my colleagues a lot every day for they're so smart. They learn in Vietnam. They learn not only by going to school, but also by doing, by talking to older people, obviously learning from the internet. So I do think that technology is changing education.
Well, Paul was talking about leapfrogging. One of the things that you're seeing in countries all around the world is if they hadn't already developed a telephone infrastructure with cellular or with landlines and telephone poles and underground tunnels, now suddenly they just go straight to cellular towers and smartphones. And banking is done there, and commerce is done through phones, and so they've leapfrogged over the infrastructure requirements of both systems. And the same is true with education. Right? If done properly, the opportunity for online education that is much cheaper, but is still of high quality, that can accelerate the ability of a child here in Vietnam to learn coding, learn business practices, and so forth, without an expensive education and having to study overseas is hugely important. With our contribution through the Peace Corps, through entrepreneurship summits, through the sponsorships that we're getting various companies to engage in, our hope is that we'll be able to provide the kind of training to young people that will be incredibly powerful for them in the future. And we want to thank the Vietnamese government for their cooperation, because a lot of these systems that we're trying to build we could not do if it were not for the strong support that we're receiving from them. But any other closing thoughts that you think either the President of the United States or the president of Vietnam or any of these business leaders here should hear about?
Mr. President, let me ask you a question.
Oh, sure. Right, his turn.
So, when you were a kid,
Yeah.
Did you dream of becoming president one day?
No. I think there's some people who, they had a very clear vision for themselves. I really didn't. I was not as well organized as all of you when I was young. I think it wasn't until I was in college that I began to develop a sense of wanting to make a difference. And even then, I did not know exactly how I might do it. I was actually very skeptical of politics because I thought politicians weren't always looking out for the people. That too often I thought they were looking out for themselves. So I actually worked in communities to try to hold politicians accountable. That was the first job that I did in the nonprofit sector. So it wasn't really until I think I finished law school that I thought that I might be interested in public service. In fact, I went to law school with now as my trade representative, our ambassador, Michael Froman, and he was much smarter than me. But it wasn't until I came out of law school that I thought that maybe I might run for office at some point. But the important point I think I want to make is that so many of the young people here today, certainly all of you, well, you sort of qualify as young. No. You're young at heart. These two are young. You're younger than me. But so many of the young people I meet today, I think, have a different idea of their careers and their lives. I think they're much more sophisticated. I think the internet has exposed them to a lot more ideas of what they can do. I believe that many young people recognize that the old system where you find yourself a job and then you work in that same job for 30 or 40 years is less likely to be the path for them because the economy is just changing so quickly. And so I think there's much more interest on the part of all the young people I meet, certainly here in Southeast Asia, in the States, Africa, Europe, wherever I go, to try to make it on their own and to try to find collaborations with groups of people who are interested in the same things they are and to see if they can make it happen. And I think that's a wonderful thing. It's challenging. I think there's one of the well-known rules in Silicon Valley is that if you haven't failed quite a bit, then you're probably not a very good entrepreneur.
Okay, we're going to start. So, just a moment, I'm going to show you this one. This one, it doesn't work. I have to cut down.
その人も資産管理会社それであるんですよ。
Okay, 18 minutes.
To no end when the last soldier leaves the battlefield. That's what I learned in my line of work. And this year, it is a very good year for us to remember this because we are celebrating 40 years of peace from 1975 to 2015. And this past month, July 27th is also the Memorial Day of Vietnam. And that's the day, the month, that the whole nation honor those who sacrificed and died and served the country. And today, it is my great honor to be speaking to you, the youth and the young adults of Vietnam, about this very historic and tragic part of Vietnam. And here we are. It is a map of Vietnam, and it is the bombing map of Vietnam that keep a record of the bombing during 10 years in Vietnam. Why 10 years? It started in 1964 and it ended in 1973 when we had the Paris Peace Agreement between US and Vietnam. And it is a very detailed record that was provided by the US Department of Defense to the government of Vietnam, so that we have a good record of what was dropped in this country, so that we can go out and make an assessment of what is left in our soil, so that we can have a plan to clean it up. It's all red, can you see? And today, there are many wars, maybe small contained wars somewhere else in the world. They use targeted bombing. It means that they can bomb to a very precise area. But back then, it was carpet bombing. It means that it's like carpet. You just bomb and bomb and bomb. You bomb the whole country into oblivion. And remember, back then, we only had about 32 million people in this country. The amount of bomb that would drop into this country, in this little ribbon on the rim of the Pacific Ocean, was 7.6 million tons of bombs. You might not be able to comprehend the magnitude of this amount of bomb that would drop in this country. But if you read the history book of World War II, what was happening in European countries and also in the Pacific theater, the amount of bomb that would drop in Vietnam was more than 3 times of what would drop in World War II. That should give you some idea. And that really comes down to each one of us, each one of our grandparents and parents, subject to a few hundreds of explosives per person. Quang Tri is the area, the province that was in the demilitarized zone. It was the boundary that divided the country into north and south. It was subject to the heaviest bombing. Basically, the infrastructure was bombed flat out. People died and they had to migrate to other provinces. And a few years ago, my organization, Vietnam Veterans of America Foundation, worked together with the Ministry of Defense of Vietnam, and we did an assessment in these provinces in central Vietnam, and it was found out that more than 1/3 of the landmass in central Vietnam is believed to be affected, to be contaminated with landmines and bombs that were dropped in this country, which ended 40 years ago. So let's park the thought there, right? That the bombing in Vietnam is the heaviest bombing in the history of mankind. Park that thought there. Who I am? Who am I? Why am I here talking to you? My name is Thao, Nguyễn Thị Thu Thao. But I'm also known as Thao Griffiths because a lot of my work I have to be overseas outside Vietnam, and most foreigners cannot pronounce my name Nguyễn. So they would yell my name and I wouldn't know that they were talking to me. So I decided to adopt my husband's name, which is Griffiths. But that gave a false idea that I might be overseas Vietnamese, or I'm American. No, I'm not. I'm born and raised and I live here. I was born in Ha Giang, in the very northernmost part of the country, in the mountain. And I worked in this program for 14 years for an organization called Vietnam Veterans of America Foundation. I don't mean to give you an advertisement about my organization, but really, this is an organization that was set up by American soldiers who fought in the war in Vietnam, who had painful experience in Vietnam. They went back to America. They were at the very forefront to ask for, to advocate for reconciliation between two nations, two peoples, American and Vietnamese. And they also were among the first people that came to Vietnam and set up programs to address the consequence of war. And that is to deal with landmines, bombs, mental health, PTSD, people with disabilities, and particularly those affected by dioxin and Asian Islands. And so 40 years ago we were enemies, America and Vietnam, but today look at where we are. We are busy celebrating 20 years of friendship. We have many exchanges between peoples and governments. We just had our General Secretary of the country visited the US. It was such a historic visit. And we will soon perhaps have a President Obama to come to Vietnam. So that really shows how far we have come in the relations of two countries. How far America and American people have come to work with Vietnam, with our people, to clean up landmines and bombs and dioxin. Now let me tell you a little bit more about dioxin, or is commonly known in Vietnam as Asian orange. Dioxin is a chemical that is known the most toxic chemical known to human beings. It does not degrade, or if it does, it will take hundreds of years. And one of the best ways to get rid of it is to burn it at very high temperature. And it gets into human body through food chain. And once it gets into your body, it affects the gene order. And that explains many people either would be having health problems or children are born with birth defect. And it is believed that during the war in Vietnam, the US uses many different herbicides which contain dioxin. And it subject 4 million Vietnamese people and 2.5 American soldiers who came to Vietnam. And many of them today are living with health consequences as a consequence of the exposure to Asian orange, to dioxin. And last week, on the Memorial Day, July 27, I went to the Friendship Village, and that is a village, it's a residential program for people with disabilities, children of veterans, and veterans who has issues with their health. So they come there, they go there for rehabilitation. And in that village, I met with a gentleman by the name Unno. He served in Unno for 8 years, and Unno is in the border between Vietnam and Laos, and it is very close to Hamburger Hill. Perhaps you don't read Vietnamese history books, but you probably watch some American Hollywood movies, and Hamburger Hill is one of those Vietnam War movies that describe the brutality of the war in Vietnam. Mr. Lân had 3 children before he went to war. All of them were fine, normal. After 8 years of serving in the war in Alloy, he came home and he had 3 more children. All of these 3 children are born with severe disability. One has passed away, 2 are still alive, but bedridden. And so, think about it. Here's another picture that I want to show you. With landmines and bombs, you can buy a metal detector to detect the metal in the bombs. With dioxin, you can burn it in high temperature and get rid of it. You might not know, but Da Nang airport has an area of contamination. The level of contamination there is among the highest level of contamination of chemical in the...
Takahashi, have you been to the War Museum?
I have 2 times. One is with you.
With me?
and another time, the one time.
Oh, okay.
The world. And in the last few years, the U.S. government and Vietnamese government spent about $100 million to clean it up, and it's about to be finished. And it is a little contained area, so you'll be safe to travel to Da Nang, and you'll be safe to use the Da Nang airport. But that is what I want to show you, that it is an issue very much part of our daily life, but most of you don't know. You don't really know what's going on in Da Nang. You don't really know that the communities living close to Da Nang airport, there are many children with disabilities are born there. You don't know that recently at the construction site, there was sand that was dredged from the Red River, and there was a bomblet within the sand. And as the concrete mixer was mixing, it exploded. So the worker standing next to the mixer, he died instantly. Or you don't know that when I was an expectant mother, I visited Quang Tri and I met with a mother who just lost a daughter. Her name is Huong. She was about 10 years old. And she was playing in a hardcore garden with a little machete. Don't know why she used a machete, the knife, a big knife. And there was a little bomblet, but it was covered in dirt. And she thought that it was a sweet potato. So she wanted to open it with her knife. What happened? It exploded. She died instantly. So if we pause a moment and we think about the trauma, the anguish of the family of the mother of Huong, or the boy who lost a father on that construction site, or Mr. Lun, who has to live with 2 children with severe disability. Every morning he wakes up, he has this fear, when I die, who's going to look after my 2 children? And he's 70-something years old. And if you stop whatever you're doing, Facebooking, go home and talk to your parents and talk to your grandparents. Ask them their war story. In every Vietnamese family, there is a war.
But she's talking about land bomb, and many land bomb in Vietnam at the era of the Vietnam War. But I'm studying Africa now. Africa cases not like this. More than that, many countries have lots of mines everywhere. So land bomb and prostitute and rape, killing is 10 times more than the kind of Asia or Middle East. All over Africa, except a few countries. So I'm now studying Middle Africa and South Africa. Recently, Middle East or South Asia, their conflict or their turmoil is very small compared with Africa. Like Congo is 1/3 of 8 to 9 years old girl is prostitute. They are selling to the some place for the sex worker. So in this video, some people, I got a wife. She was former sex worker. It's common. It doesn't nothing matter, because 1/3 of girl is everybody former sex worker. What's problem? AIDS is some country. I forgot which country, but some countries 30% of population is AIDS, and very high ratio of AIDS. And AIDS is not recently not death disease. They can stop the get worse disease situation. So much better than past, but still AIDS is lots of issue. That's the reason there. And some Congo, if you go into the local village, no young woman. None of the young women. Every family sell their daughter to as a sex worker. Okay, this is she's talking, but I'm it's small issue in case of Vietnam, but still like this.
War story. You'd be surprised to know how much you learn from them, and you'd be surprised to know that the war experience shaped their lives so fundamentally. Our grandparents, parents, uncles and aunties, and through that, it affects our life. It indirectly shapes our lives. Oh, you're playing with Google. Set the Google alert so that you can receive, whenever there is a press clippings on some accident set off by landmines and bombs in Vietnam and elsewhere in the world, you'd be surprised to receive how frequently you receive the press clippings of the accident of landmines and bombs in Vietnam, and of what happened in World War I and World War II, which ended more than 100 years ago. Today, in Europe, they still have that problem. What does it tell you? It tells you that we will have many more years to live with this problem. And you're going to have to do something about it. You know, the US government, the American people, they've done their part. They won't do more. The government of Vietnam won't do more. Our parents and grandparents did their part, They fought in the war and they restored peace and they rebuilt the nation so that you can be born into it and live a good life as you do now. But what do you do now? Now that I tell you, this little Lee, the girl, she's 8 years old. She lives just outside the Da Nang airport. She's born with all kinds of deformities. She has a problem with breathing, her chest case. She has problem with, her skull too big. Her eyes are set apart too wide. But she's an excellent student. And you can do something about it, You can go and teach her something. You go and teach her to draw, to swim, to do yoga, to play music. And not just her. So many other children with disabilities in this country. So many street kids out there in Hoàn Kim Lake that could benefit from some of your compassion. It doesn't really matter what you do. It really matters that you do something meaningful. Something meaningful to honor the past, to fight for our future. Because if we don't do anything about this, to help Lee and the like of Lee, the problem is not the problem of the past, of the war that ended 40 years ago, of the war that took 3 million lives of Vietnamese people. It is the problem of today, and it won't be a problem of the future, and it's very much part of your life. So it's about time for you to do something. And that's what I've been doing for the last 14 years with my life. And I consider myself as part of you. Part of the young generation of Vietnam that do not have a first-hand, direct wartime experience, but who are inheritors with the future of Vietnam. Earlier this month, I had the honor to meet with President Bill Clinton, and I was reminded of his first visit to Vietnam in November 2000. I remember it very well because it was on my wedding day. And I was up in my hometown in Ha Giang, and instead I should be paying attention to the guests and to my husband, but instead my husband and I was having our eyes glued to the television because President Clinton was speaking on television, live broadcast to the nation. What did he say? He said this, that the history of Vietnam and the US are intertwined in so many ways. There was a source of pain, of suffering for many generations that came before us. But it is also the source of promise for many generations to come. And you are the generation to come. I invite you, I challenge you to join others to fight for the future, a future of Vietnam that will be free from impact of landmines and bombs, be clean from dioxin, and people are born with normalcy. Farmers can access land without fearing that they would step on landmines and end their life. So it is now on you, and go and do it. Thank you.
Okay, this is a presentation for Vietnam War. Okay.
Surprisingly, younger generation of Vietnamese don't know anything about the war.
No, 40 years ago, no.
I talked to quite a few people.
No, they don't know.
They don't know. They don't teach at school.
No, so they have no bad image for American people.
We have a serious problem with comfort girl compared with this. That's nothing.
Comfort girl is for Japanese.
Korean.
Korean?
Yeah. It is becoming
more
and more.
In Vietnam?
No. Just comparing the disaster in Vietnam, Korea, Africa.
And comfort woman is, I just wrote a book, okay? Just I gave it to I tried to my friend to give it to the mayor of Osaka. And this is actually the comfort woman sort of story. Is everything is fake. So I need to summarize in English to write book here and try to persuade American parliament members what is right, what is wrong. And San Francisco is one case, and they need to talk with American elite and what's going on before World War II and Korean history, but also what Japanese army did. So Japanese foreign ministry, they never studied in the past history, and Kono is the father of the current foreign minister. He apologized with wrong information, so we need to correct it. So I just wrote book. So if using this book, they can persuade American people the first. Otherwise, permanently, Japanese have obligation for this kind of crime in history. This is not good. Comfort woman statutes, Korean government we're going to make within Korea, no problem. How many statues you can make it, but we should never allow them to build those kind of statues all over the world. But Japanese government and foreign ministry, they have, I think, insufficient effort to make to battle against those Korean people. So this is their. Otherwise, what kind of responsibility do they have? This is my opinion. I have some past events or past Japanese war criminals. We need to clear out what is wrong, what is good, and many people, right-wing people, left-wing people, write a lot of material. But I tell you, those things is we need to clarify what is the right things, and Japanese what things they should do. And I wrote down World War II and 731 unit, Nanking massacre, and any other issues under World War II. And also comfort woman. I clear out every kind of what is right, what is wrong. Done. Then I can persuade for those using my book, persuade foreigners, American, European people to negotiate, talk with those people. Beforehand, Japanese government, they never tried to do that before. It's stupid. It's completely stupid. This is I have done it in the past. And always the Japanese people follow on Korean people, American people, Chinese people opinion. This is not true.
Did you watch the reception party which the President Trump visited Korea? They invited the so-called comfort women to the reception party.
Oh, Trump is he's a kind of alien.
No, my point is she looks like about 60 years old, 65 years old maybe. Not the 90 or the 85. So that means that the comfort goal for Vietnamese war, not the war against Japan.
Yeah, Korean government, that it doesn't matter just how to criticize Japanese war criminal, and they want to get money, and they want to get repetition. So this is just simple reason. This is Korean people's characteristic. Because I understand my wife is Korean, half Korean. They are very small mind, okay? And Japanese not big mind, but bigger than Korean. Very similar, but Chinese more bigger mind, okay? Chinese don't care about comfort woman, but Korea is very small mind. And they try to take many kind of actions for the comfort woman, but also for against North Korea. So must understand who are they. Okay, but Japanese people try to communicate with Korean people at the same eye contact, eye level. It's not good. Okay, don't consider the same eye level. Okay, Japanese more broader mind than Korea, but many cases try to eye contact. Okay, try to solve problem. No, it's difficult. It's impossible. And Chinese is more bigger mind, and they never try to handle like Japanese people do that. They don't do that. Always, okay, I understand what you said. That's all. Okay, I understand. It's kind of sort of things they are doing that. Japanese people, they cannot do that. Like ambassador in Korea, and he just get angry for the kind of computer statues, sort of things, but they try to handle Korean people at the same level. No, it's wrong. So this is Japanese people's fault. You must study more big mind like Chinese.
No.
This is a major issue. Trump understand. Okay, he's at that aspect. He does understand, and Korean people, intention, and he doesn't take care of the kind of issue. Okay, just right. It's no problem. Okay, what do you like? So he just says just as it is. No problem. Just he never listened to them, but he accept but not listen. It's American way. Chinese is also same, and Japanese is different. Always get angry. No, not get angry. Just okay. Just listen what you said. But sorry, I don't agree with you. But I can listen to you. And okay. So that's all. Right. It's just kind of how to discuss with those people. Don't need to discuss. But Japanese government need to discuss with American Parliament people, like chairman of House Speaker of American Parliament is against Japan for comfort woman, but because this is biased by Korean people, so need to talk with them. Lady, who the Speaker of the House of Speaker is, I can't remember, but need to talk with them. Otherwise, it's ridiculous, just kind of wrong messages we still keep going. By the way, okay, this is Vietnam looks into better future, and are you going back? Okay, I have more. I thought finish today, but I can't finish 1 o'clock. Do you let me? Oh, let me try. Okay, just matter.
No.
Okay, this is. ありがとう。Okay, let me try to show you the one video. This is going to explain about Vietnam agriculture. Oh, it came here. Vietnam agriculture. Maybe this one. Maybe this one.
Hi.
Vietnam agriculture. Okay, I'll show you one. Something wrong. This is I can't show this. I need to cut and paste. Oh, not here. Oops, I guess wrong. Okay, just here. Oh,
I think
God.
this is yours.
Ah, yes. So.
Oh, this is- Oh,
Ủa, có cái người, cộng đồng người, và của cơ quan quản.
oh, this is the wrong one.
Russian?
No, not long one. Not wrong. This is wrong one. I think we're going to do it next week. 25 minutes, and also we have agriculture. Oh, this is agriculture. And
Was that
also-
Vietnamese?
Yeah, also Vietnam BPO. Hey guys, we are going to do it next week, okay? One more, SPS Vietnam. Oh, this is advanced technology, France company implemented. Then Indonesia. So next week I'll continue, but it doesn't take a couple hours. It takes about 1 hour plus. Then next week I'm moving to get into Indonesia. Okay?
You still have 20 minutes if you want, but...
Oh, no, 25 minutes.
Oh, okay.
It's yeah, you're going to start. And Somaya, he want to join the Skype
Okay.
at after 3 p.m.
Okay.
And I tell you that his address.
So Takashi-san is there by himself at the moment.
Oh, okay. Takashi and Kimoto is joining now.
Ah, okay.
Oh, okay. So, just a moment.
エイトさん、
はい、こんにちは。